I was sent to the Mafia as a wife. He demanded that if I weren't pregnant within 6 months, we would divorce. I planned to leave once the time was up, but as the divorce deadline neared, I found myself unable to leave him. I wanted to be his wife for life. Miss Calderon, I've gone through your profile. There's an issue with your lineage. Sydney's heart tightened. He continued speaking. Your father and stepmother haven't disclosed your identity. I'll keep it that way. I agree to the marriage, but you'll need to comply with a few terms. First, you must conceive within 6 months of marriage. Second, you won't restrict my personal life, including my relationships with other women. Third, I dislike talkative women. If any of these conditions are broken, the marriage will be terminated immediately. I agree, she replied softly. Good. The 30th of next month is an auspicious date. You'll be informed of the wedding details. With that, he stood up and left with an unhurried stride. The card in Sydney's hand felt like a burning coal. She knew this marriage was going to be far more complicated than she had imagined. The mission was complete, and a figure hidden among the crowd silently withdrew. Sydney pulled out her phone and made a call. Where are you? Sydney asked. I'm in the first floor lobby, come over, the person on the other end replied. Soon, a woman in a low-cut lace dress approached, holding a handbag and confidently striding in high heels. Sydney said, I just met Jason. What? He actually met you? And? The woman asked eagerly. He agreed, Sydney replied calmly. The woman paused for a moment before saying in a low voice, Sydney, you know Jason isn't an ordinary businessman. His background is shady. So many women want to get close to him. Why would you jump into this mess? I can't stand that house anymore. If I don't leave, I'll fall apart, Sydney said helplessly. Why not just move out? Why marry into that family? The woman asked again. I can't marry into a decent family. They'd eventually find out about my past. Marrying Jason is my way of atonement and my way out of the Calderon family. Sydney sighed. You're too naive. The Nixon family isn't easy to deal with, the woman said, shaking her head. That's exactly why they want me to marry into them, because they're complicated. Otherwise, how would it be my turn? This time, my father is determined to connect with the Nixon family. I have no choice, Sydney said with a bitter smile. My dad said that as long as I marry Jason, even if we get divorced, he won't use my past against me anymore, Sydney said firmly. 12 years. Haven't you atoned enough? The woman sighed. Alondra, I have nightmares every single day. I dream of that day, of my mother's words. I can't forget, Sydney said softly. Alondra, I just hope you'll support me, Sydney said, looking up. I'm your friend, so I have to warn you to be careful. The Nixon family isn't an ordinary family. Don't stir up trouble. Alondra sighed. But in the end, she chose to support Sydney's decision. Thank you. I'll send you a wedding invitation when the time comes, Sydney said with a smile. In the bar at the fusion of high-stakes gaming, electronic music blared, and bikini-clad dancers on stage heated up the crowd with their wild moves. Jason sat in the elevated VIP booth, his thoughts drifting momentarily to Sydney. According to her profile, her figure was just as impressive as the girls on stage. Since the news of his engagement broke, the public had been buzzing with speculation. Some admired the Nixon family's power, while others steered clear, knowing all too well about their dark background. Jason didn't care. His father had taught him from a young age, play however you like outside, but your wife must be pure and respectable. A bodyguard leaned in and whispered, Miss Calderon just left. Jason smiled in satisfaction. He wanted a wife who wasn't engrossed in places like this. Sydney's profile had been sent by her father. At first, Jason wondered why such an outstanding girl needed to marry this way, but after digging deeper, he discovered the truth. Sydney was Esteban's illegitimate daughter. To cover it up, the outside world was told she was an orphan from a distant relative's family. His private phone rang, and Jason picked it up. Dad, I got it. I'll be back tomorrow. After hanging up, a woman entered the private room without being stopped by the bodyguards. She leaned against Jason, purring, Baby. Jason didn't push her away, his cold eyes still fixed on the stage. She cooed, Don't you like women with bigger chests? I even gained weight just for you." She flirted shamelessly, her legs slightly parted under her short skirt, revealing the base of her thighs. She pressed her lips against Jason's, guiding his hand up her skirt without care for the bodyguards standing nearby. The bodyguards, unfazed by the scene, tactfully drew the curtains over the panoramic window and left the private room.